devious bounty hunter, the Shade, is delivering the Graft children to Captain Corda when her ship is attacked by a mysterious species. Milo and Lena must trust their fate to their fellow prisoners. How will they escape the darkness?
Hello, younglings! The library is open! You probably didn't think this was going to happen. You probably thought any time it's never going to reopen. So, the library is open. I'm Levi Paratic. With me is Tim May, and we are Padawan Library, the Star Wars Junior Novel Podcast.
Hello, everyone. I just have one thing to say. Thrift books fucked us.
What? Yes, they did. They did.
This is what happened last week. I apologize deeply. Hopefully you guys saw messages on social media. We didn't put out a bonus episode or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I ordered the book we're reviewing this week, which is, of course, Star Wars Adventures in Wild Space, The Darkness. And I ordered it, and it was supposed to arrive on the Wednesday before we record Thursdays. Mm-hmm. The episodes come out Fridays, but it was supposed to arrive that Wednesday, which would give me, of course, plenty of time to read the book.
Especially these books.
And by the way, I ordered this well over a week before this, so it's not like I ordered it like it was like it seems like it could get here Wednesday. Like I didn't half-ass this, and it was in Pittsburgh, which is 2 hours from my house on Monday. So I was like, oh, it'll definitely be here Wednesday. Don't need to worry about it. But it just stayed in Pittsburgh for an extra day for some reason, and it didn't get here until Thursday evening, which is when we record. So this wasn't going to happen, and I frankly, when we missed Friday, once we pushed an episode back to a Monday. But nowadays, if we miss the Friday, we miss the week. It just is what it is.
It is what it is. We almost missed this week because on Sunday, I came down with a sore throat after Easter dinner. I'm like, all right, what's going on? Monday, sore throat, fever, 101 fever. I made a joke on the Instagram. Look at us pumping the social media this week.
I know.
I made a joke that because I've been watching Ewoks on Disney Plus, and I said I took a picture of my 101 degree fever and called it a low gray fever.
See, I don't follow our social media because I am off social media basically entirely, but that made me laugh. I'm glad you're holding that down. So
well, Ewoks has the best theme ever. It gets me pumped every time, and it's just inspiring because we're the Ewoks. But so then the fever went away, but my tonsils swelled up, and I texted you yesterday and said, "Hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this episode because my tonsils are so big. In fact, they bled at one point, which was super scary.
Yeah,
but I went.
Once you realize it was the tonsils bleeding, as terrible as that is, it's like, okay, well, I'm not actually coughing up blood here. Okay, it's like, okay, it's just.
You know what I always think when I cough up blood? I'm like, oh no, I have tuberculosis. Tuberculosis was such a big thing in lit class, so.
Sure. It's interesting because this. So I apologize that we've only put out really one episode in the last month, which is very bad for us. We're
it is.
We're a very reliable podcast for being,
on time.
An independent podcast. We're very on time and reliable for the most part, and we hope to be through the end of our run from here on. But we are going to talk about The Darkness, the band, and their first two albums. Really, mostly their second, but we'll get to that.
Well, what's funny here is, so I texted you yesterday and say I might not be able to make the episode, and we had put out most recently an episode of Tim Recommends.
Oh, yes.
And you texted me back, and it's if you can't make it, I'll do another Tim Recommends. And you were gung-ho about doing a Tim Recommends.
Let me read what I actually said, because I don't know, you're reading a lot of tone into this text that I'm not sure was there.
The fact that you brought up a Tim Recommends is what I was like, oh, damn, he's ready for another one.
No, because you explained the situation to me yesterday, and I said, damn, we can see how you feel tomorrow morning and make a final decision then, which is what we did this morning.
Yes.
And then I said, I can record another Tim Recommends too. Ha ha. I'm not sure if that seems that gung-ho. But I see what you're saying. Alright. Our subject, our non-Star Wars topic today is The Darkness, because the name of the book is The Darkness. So we're going to talk about the band The Darkness, and we will get to that in a moment. But two things. One, I got vaccinated a couple weeks ago, so I've returned to movie theaters. I've seen 2 movies. I saw my official return to movie theaters. I saw The Courier, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, which is like a spy film set during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And I just want to say here that it is a perfectly acceptable film. It's a good low grade Bridge of Spies, like a good poor man's Bridge of Spies is what I think I told you.
That's exactly what the text said.
And that's all I have to say about that. And then, of course, I saw Godzilla vs. Kong, which I don't think it doesn't really merit any discussion, but it was nice to be in a theater with a decent amount of people watching a movie and having a good time.
You know what I thought about Godzilla vs. Kong is I saw it on HBO Max because I was sick. I watched it the other day. But I thought the title card was the most 90s looking blockbuster title card where Godzilla vs. Kong pops up. It was boom,
it's such
there
a
in your
90s
face.
Blockbuster throwback. I know it's part of this big shared universe, but it does not feel like a modern shared universe movie to me.
No, not at all.
It just kind of feels like it does feel like a sequel, because it feels like a sequel to fucking the last terrible Godzilla movie. Whatever that was, King of the Monsters, so bad.
Yeah, but I don't think the series goes anywhere from here either.
I think this is the end. I'm pretty sure Toho is taking back the Godzilla rights.
Oh, good for them.
So I think they're making their own Godzilla movie, which is good.
What's actually interesting about this movie is I watched a half hour of the original version, King Kong versus Godzilla. But that's a Japanese-produced movie, so they had the rights to King Kong, and now we have the rights to Godzilla. It's
I actually don't even know how the Kong rights work, because I thought they were with Universal, and this is a Warner movie. But
oh, you're right about that. I thought they were with Universal too.
The original's an RKO movie. Oh, I guess they must. Because Warner must own the RKO library, but it's weird because Universal made the remakes. They made, the 76 and the 05 movies. So, whatever, who cares? And then one other thing, I've been on a Blu-ray and DVD spending spree, and I just wanted to let everyone know there was a big Warner Archive sale, and there was a big Kino Lorber sale, and I'm just showing you the stack here.
Wow, there is at least over a dozen movies there. There's more going on.
There we go, the whole thing. So I just wanted to run through the titles. No explanation. I'm just going to run through them, I promise. But, I haven't talked to my friend Levi in a couple weeks. And what?
Well, get ready, people, for the first installment of Tim List.
Oh, there's 2 lists. Anyway, all right. So from Kino Lorber, I got Inside Moves, directed by Richard Donner and written by Barry Levinson, a basketball movie from the 70s that I've never seen. I got A Great Wall, which is the first American film ever produced in China by Chinese-American filmmakers in the late 80s, so that sounds kind of interesting. I got this Swin in London 60s thing called Smashing Time that looks kind of fun. I got Ang Lee's masterpiece, Lust Caution, finally out on U.S. Blu-ray. Thank you, Kino. I appreciate it. I got Boys.
Shouts to Kino.
Shouts to Kino, indeed. I got Boys with Winona Ryder and Lucas Haas, which I've never seen.
John C. Reilly as well, and Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah, it's a stacked cast. It's from like 96, so basically peak for most of those people except John, I suppose. I got Play It to the Bone, a Ron Shelton boxing movie. He made Bull Durham, of course, one of my favorites.
Okay, I've seen that poster before.
Yeah,
so
and it's got Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas as Over the Hill Boxers, of course. I got, let's put the Warner Archive movies aside here for a second. I got The Warlord, which is a Charlton Heston movie directed by Franklin Schaffner, the director of Planet of the Apes. This predates Planet of the Apes. It's a medieval adventure movie. Very exciting. I got The Wanderers, directed by Philip Kaufman of Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Right Stuff fame. He made this between those two masterpieces, so I feel like I should check it out.
You know what? Stop real quick there.
Okay.
We have never discussed that I finally watched The Right Stuff.
Oh.
This is a movie that you lent me forever, and
One
I
of my
never got
favorite
around
movies of all time.
Yeah, and I finally watched it, and it's a movie I think about all the time. I think about that every day, I would say.
It is it might be it's very high for me. It's one of my favorite movies ever. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because Philip Kaufman's one of these guys that movie and his Invasion of the Body Snatchers, two of my favorite movies of all time. The other movies I've seen of his are fine, are pretty good even, but not classics. This is right in the middle of those two, so I feel like maybe he has a trilogy of classics here. So I'm hoping. But those two though are just unreal how good they are. And Right Stuff is the most beautiful movie. It's maybe the best American movie of the 1980s. It's among them.
Mm-hmm. I love that Lance Henriksen is in it, and that he almost has no speaking lines in the entire movie.
Everybody in it is incredible. It's just it's a great movie. And then I got 3 DVDs for dirt cheap. We're talking $3 here from Kino.
Okay.
I got Sylvester Stallone in Fist, where he plays a Jimmy Hoffa type. This is right after Rocky when he was still a real actor, and he co-wrote a movie about unions. I'm man, what a different career he could have had, you know what I mean?
If he had just kept writing stuff about the everyman.
I know, it's so weird. Anyway, and then I got Billy Wilder's The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, which is a later period thing, but it has Christopher Lee plays Mycroft Holmes in it, and it sounds kind of interesting. I'm excited. And then
I recently saw some of the Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly movie Holmes and Watson.
That's a rough one.
That was rough. It was
I love
very
those
rough.
people. I love them.
But this thing was
wow.
Keep going.
And then I got the Michael Crichton movie, The Great Train Robbery, which is not a remake apparently of the classic early narrative film. It's but it stars Sean Connery, Donald Sutherland, and it's just sounds crazy. I'm two people I love, and it's from the 70s. I'm really into this idea of getting into 70s genre shit, genre movies, that are Hollywood genre movies, but not ones that have lasted. You know what I mean? That are still talked about. So not exploitation movies, but
cinema that was being produced at the time,
popular studio movies. All right, so here's my Warner Archive.
Speaking of Connery, there's a movie I watched with my mother-in-law that with Connery that I wanted to ask you if you'd seen before.
Ooh, I wonder if it's one I got from the Warner Archive collection.
Is it The Wind and the Lion?
No, but I love that movie's great.
That movie blew me away.
That's John Milius. That's a great movie. That's a fucking wild-ass movie. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, Connery's crazy in that.
Connery is nuts in that movie. And that Teddy Roosevelt,
oh my god. Yeah, that movie is great. Everybody check out The Wind and the Lion, John Milius, written and directed. Crazy-ass movie. But speaking of that, from right around the same time, I got John Huston's The Man Who Would Be King.
Oh, nice,
with Sean Connery and Michael Caine. And
last night I watched Jezebel last night that he was a writer on, John Huston. So.
Oh yeah, nice.
Nice. One of 3 credited writers on that. Continue.
And that's very exciting. I got Time After Time, which is written and directed by Nicholas Meyer, who did Star Trek 2, and
okay.
And it stars Malcolm McDowell as H.G. Wells, and he time travels, and he is a time traveler. Like, he actually created a time machine, like in the book, and he's a time traveler, and he investigates Jack the Ripper.
Ooh,
So sounds good, and I've always heard of this movie, like, because I'm a big Star Trek fan. But speaking of Star Trek, I got Genesis 2 and Planet Earth, a double pack of pilots written by Gene Roddenberry in the 70s, probably at his peak corniness, so they're going to be weirdo movies, I'm sure. Never went, but, you know. And then I got the Peter Weir movie Fearless, with Jeff Bridges and Rosie Perez, great movie from the early 90s. And then the big granddaddy of them all, somehow I found a copy of this for like $14, the Arrow edition of Waterworld.
Oh, wow.
Which, Waterworld's a movie I saw on TV a couple times when I was a kid, but I have no particular attachment to it. But this movie, this includes a 3-hour cut of it called quote, the Ulysses cut. And it also includes an hour and 45-minute making of documentary that was made last year or 2 years ago.
Wow.
Like recent.
Wow.
So, and where they interviewed a bunch of people. Costner apparently not, but Kevin Reynolds was interviewed. So that I'm fascinated by that. So that's my insane haul.
That's actually a movie that's always been on my radar, but I've never watched.
Yeah.
And I've been to Universal and seen the Waterworld stunt show, which has been there since it opened. It is like one of the most popular attractions in that park.
People love it.
People adore it, and it's always made the fact that I'm like, I wonder how much that has on people who are just like, ooh, what is this Waterworld? I guess I better go check it out. Like,
from what I can tell, it's Mad Max opposite time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't they even got the cinematographer from Road Warrior and Beyond Thunderdome, I think, shoots it. So,
well,
let's
get into The Darkness, because we are talking about The Darkness's second album, One Way Ticket to Hell and Back, which is produced by Roy Thomas Baker, who is famous for Queen. He put out Foreigner. He's this
big 70s arena rock producer.
He did I'm looking here, he did a Devo album, Oh No, It's Devo, Alice Cooper. This guy's everywhere, but Queen is a big one. And Queen, I feel like, is a band that The Darkness is heavily influenced by.
They love them. And for our listeners who don't know, because maybe we have some younger listeners. I think most of our listeners are exactly our age. But The Darkness was a briefly quite popular glam rock revivalist band.
Right around the time 2000s. Of Episode 2.
Yes,
around
that time.
Their first big their hit album, Permission to Land, which went to number 1 in the UK for 4 weeks,
and spawned a very, very, very popular song that everyone listening has heard. I Believe in a Thing 2003.
Called Love. I Believe in a Thing Called Love. There were some other great hits on that album, including Growing on You, Friday Night, which is an extremely catchy tune, which definitely had a Kids Bop version to it. There's no way Friday Night didn't have a Kids Bop version.
Was that a single? It wouldn't be on Kids Bop if it wasn't.
I don't know. It probably had to be. It's one of those things that's just so it's so kid oriented, because this album is actually Permission to Land was pretty explicit for the time, because it had songs on it like Get Your Hands Off My Woman, Motherfucker, and they're very heavy F-bomb use in that album. However, the second album, not so much.
Sure. Well, I just want to say I listened to Permission to Land probably for the first time in it's got to be close to. The album came out 18 years ago. I'll say 17 years, a very long time. And I listened because I owned it. Like I listened to it a lot for a short period of time, and this vibe that the Darkness to me has always been more of a vibe than like about the songs. There are very good Darkness songs, but for the most, if you're going to listen to a Darkness album, it's about can I enjoy being in this vibe for a half hour or 40 minutes, and Permission to Land is great for that. If you want just like kind of like glam rock adjacent, like 70s glam rock adjacent stuff, because it's still you can tell it's from the early 2000s because of the production, and because you're right about some of the explicit language, but also like it feels like it's reacting against not just the 90s but even the 80s. Like people, I remember at the time in the old VH1 days when this would get talked about on one of their big talking head shows, it would be like, oh, it's like bringing back the 80s. It's such a 70s thing. And it's like almost rejecting what glam rock became in the 80s, which is hair metal, basically. But this doesn't sound like hair metal at all.
Well, I feel like the first title song on it, Black Struck, is this really, it's like real poppy and it's real heavy. But if you listen to the lyrics are like sort of metal there. They're sort of like nonsense, but it doesn't sound like metal at all. Like,
I'm talking about the sound. I mean, lyrics can be nonsense in any era or genre, but I think there's like a...
Yeah, well, the sound is not metal.
It's certainly not this. Like, hair metal, it doesn't sound like Motley Crue, is my point, basically. It sounds like, Queen or, like, a shittier T-Rex. Shittier Queen, I guess, too, obviously. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, a kind of, like, just a lower I shouldn't say shittier, because I enjoy the album, but, like, it's like... they would be, like, in the 70s, they would be like, oh, there's a perfectly acceptable, like, third-tier band we can throw on a bill with T-Rex or whatever. So
except they exist in 2003.
Yeah.
That's
and so they're going much further back. Like, I think because there was a lot of 80s nostalgia at that time, that was like I love the 80s and all that crap.
Right.
Like, I think they kind of got lumped into that, but they don't feel 80s to me at all, really. Like, they feel like a 70s band. And it's interesting because it also this is a backward-looking band, and they were not... I think people liked this album. This was like a well-liked record critically.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
But
it went 5 times platinum.
Sure, but I think even critically it was a well-liked album. But it was also seen as a curiosity, Whereas, at the same time, the cool popular rock bands of this period were like The Strokes and the White Stripes, and I think those are better bands. Let me put that out there. But they were also backward-looking bands, just to cooler types of music. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not like they were really new. Like, so it was just so it's interesting, and I think that album holds up pretty well. I think it's a little long. Like, there's a couple songs I would cut, but the peaks on it are, I mean, Growing on Me. I love that song, and obviously I Believe in a Thing Called Love. Everyone, that's the song, but there's a reason it's the song. It's a fucking That is a fucking song, and then like
that was
on the
also
Rocks with No Ice.
Very popular music video. That's the
Great
song
music
too.
Video.
Do you know their Christmas song? Christmas Time, Don't Let the Bells End? That's
to
another
it.
jammer.
I remember that. It wasn't on the album, or at least
no, it's not
on Spotify anyway.
No, it was a single they released after the album, so before the second album.
All right,
but you could tell they're still on that like level. What's interesting is because they come out with an album 2 years later, One Way Ticket to Hell and Back, which is like almost completely void of like that vibe. Like, how the first album, they got those jams on there, and you can listen to that whole album and just feel great. But the second album is, like, missing that mojo, in my opinion.
I'll say this. I had never heard this album before today. This is a classic sophomore slump. Nobody...
This is me trying to study for this. I listened to this album 3 times over the course of the past 2 weeks.
I'm happy you did, but I listened to it today in the car. I went on a drive and listened to both albums back to back. And, frankly, I did not hate the second album. I had heard for a long time it was just nothing, and I was like, there are good songs on this record. I think it's fairly whatever most of the way through, but there are a couple songs in here. I think the title track is pretty good. I think that
was a top charting single
in England.
Yes, in England. All their popularities in England.
And I also think something seemed like a good idea at the time is a good song.
Yeah, it was a good one. I wrote that one down.
And I think
was a Girl with Hazel Eyes. I thought is another good one on the album.
Like I didn't hate none of this was terrible. I think there was a sea shanty-ish one that I was not into. That's the only one that I was and maybe that was on the first record actually, but there was a sea shanty-ish one, and I don't remember the title, but that one is the only one where I was this is taking me out of the vibe. And I agree that this album, I kind of disagree. I think this record sounds a lot like the first album. The vibe is in place. It's just that the songwriting is not as good. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of songs that sound like the kind of music that you want when you listen to Into the Darkness, but they're just kind of forgettable songs. So it doesn't...
Yeah. Well, the title track to me would be a great song for Meatloaf to cover. Because it's got this great hook to it. And I told this to Mel, and she was like, oh yeah, Justin Hawkins is just Meatloaf, but 2 octaves higher. So, but that one-way ticket to hell and back. Yeah. I got a one-way ticket to hell and back.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I mean, it's so theatrical, and the band broke up after this record, and then got back together a few years later, and they put out 4 or 5 records since then. And I didn't listen to any of those. But this is a classic. I really like Permission to Land, but it's not shocking that this band did not have a long shelf life because
what really
everything that was appealing to them was the throwback nature of it,
right?
Which is different. I joked about the Strokes and the White Stripes and how they were also backward looking. They were, but the reason they had longer, especially the White Stripes, but the reason they had kind of a longer stay in the public imagination is because even though they were backward looking to some degree, they weren't relying they were still cool in a current sort of way. Whereas the Darkness, they cosplayed like they were from the 70s, and
they played themselves like a rock band from the 70s because the lead singer leaves the band because he has a cocaine addiction, sure. Which he does not. The songs In My Arms is a song about drugs, sure. And then the title track has that weird bohemian opening, and then the sound of somebody snorting coke before the song actually begins.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying that. Listen, I think.
But then they break up, they form solo projects, and then they get back together. Right now, they're on their own label, producing their own music. So they're a gimmick band, but they just live the whole rock star lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, listen, not that those other bands didn't. But there is something at a certain you do need to have something anchoring you to the present. It doesn't need to be a current musical style or trend hopping or anything, but you have to feel like you are of this moment and not just playing a character from a past. You know what I mean? I think that's why they weren't able to keep it going. But I don't think this album is terrible. If they were if you get 1 or 2 more songs that are as good as the title track, I think this record probably still does exactly the same, business-wise, that it did, and probably has the same result that they break up and all that. But I think it's, I think it's remembered more fondly. I was looking up lists of disappointing sophomore records, and this was on a bunch of them, especially from the British magazines. And it was the Stone Roses' Second Coming and the Darkness. I'm those aren't the same. I'm sorry. The Stone Roses, that's a great band. The Darkness is a fun thing, and I agree that Second Coming is not a great record, but you know what I mean. Whatever.
Well, this leads us into our next Tim list.
Oh, sure. I didn't know. Okay. Well, because of this. Because this is a disappointing second album, I wanted to just pick my favorite sophomore albums by bands or artists, and I wrote down a ton of them. I am not going to go through each one individually and explain, but I'm going to just list them. If there's one that I feel like has to be explained, maybe I'll stop, but I don't think I will. All right. Well, I'm just going to read them in a random order. This is not like it's not ranked at all. This Year's Model by Elvis Costello. The Low End Theory by A Tribe Called Quest. True Blue by Madonna. De Still by The White Stripes. Hootenanny by The Replacements, which is a controversial choice because there's the Stink EP that's 8 songs. You could argue is an album, but it was released as an EP. I'm going to say Hootenanny's their second album. All right. Clarity by Jimmy Eat World. What's the Story? Morning Glory. Oasis. Good Kid, Mad City. Kendrick Lamar. 17 Seconds by The Cure. Utopia Parkway. Fountains of Wayne. Hallowed Ground. Violent Femmes. Neon Bible by Arcade Fire. Verses by Pearl Jam. More Songs About Buildings and Food. Talking Heads. Room on Fire by The Strokes, which is from around this exact same time. That's an underrated one because Is This It is like such a classic. And anyway. In Color by Cheap Trick, Candy-O by the Cars. That's a really underrated one because the first Cars album is like a goddamn greatest hits record. You're like, what the fuck? How is this all on one album? And then Candy-O is like almost that good. You're like, how did they do 2 in a row? Like, this is so crazy. Reckoning by R.E.M. Recovering the Satellites by Counting Crows. One of my favorite bands, Counting Crows. And the second Counting Crows record is so fucking good. Like, August and Everything After is like, everyone knows the songs on that. That's a classic. But Recovering the Satellites is incredible because they went in a totally different direction musically and it has some of the best Adam Duritz songs on it. Long December being the obvious one. And let's see. I miss
I can see the back of it. It's two-sided.
Late Registration, Kanye West. It Was Written by Nas. Dirty Mind by Prince. That might be the best one. Like, that might be just all told the best on this list. Oh, Pinkerton by Weezer. I love that record. So many. Did I mention Reckoning by R.E.M.?
Yes, you did.
Oh,
you did.
My favorite band. So, and then I had one other short list that I decided to write down just off the top of my head.
Third bonus list of Tim List.
And then we'll move on. But it was just off the top of my head. I was like, favorite sophomore films by directors. I don't know. Let's think. And I literally only listed 5, and it was the first 5 that came to my mind. There are plenty of other ones, and probably ones I like more than some of these, but I just went off the top. I had to go with The Matrix, of course, which is after Bound, of course. Days of Being Wild. I've been thinking a lot about Wong Kar-wai lately, for obvious reasons. Pulp Fiction. I mean, what are you gonna do? Yeah, that's a sophomore film right there. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Hayao Miyazaki, and The Road Warrior. Right. That's a good top 5. There are ones missing. American Graffiti comes to mind. You could argue Jaws because it's the second theatrical. Boogie Nights. A million. There's a million you can argue. Mean Streets is Scorsese's second movie.
Yeah, that's true.
But, it's fine. That was the first 5 that came to mind. So, do we have anything else to say about The Darkness?
No, absolutely nothing.
All right. Fun. Revisit Permission to Land if you haven't heard it in a while. That's a good driving record. I was driving down the peninsula here in Erie, and I was having a great time listening to Permission to Land.
I was going to say to you, we should do albums more. Albums are fun. That's something you and I don't usually talk about. So
yeah, no, and I like talking about music. So yeah, no, I'd be into it. Next week is The Cold. Is the name of the book, and we had talked about doing the film Cold Turkey, the Norman Whitman movie, which I looked it up. You can rent it for $4 on Amazon, so it is free. It is available.
Okay.
Like, it's, you got to pay for it, but it's not like...
I wonder if it's on Fandango, because I like supporting Fandango over Amazon.
Of course. Who would want to support Amazon? I'm just saying, if it's not, we'll figure out some way for you to watch it. That's not Amazon. I'll give you my login.
It's on Voodoo, people.
Okay,
so
great.
if you want to support Walmart,
the
number 2. If you want to support the number 2 retailer,
I guess maybe I'd rather support Walmart right now than Amazon, but neither great option. But whatever, I'll give you my Amazon login. Don't worry about it.
I have one currently, so don't worry about it.
Good. All right, so well, whatever. I have to. So you don't have to buy it. You don't have to rent it if you don't want to.
Okay.
We'll figure something out.
We'll figure it out.
Off air. But next week, Cold Turkey. Check it out. Dick Van Dyke, Bob Newhart's in this movie.
Wow, this is going to be exciting.
Written and directed by Norman Lear.
I'm going to watch this one with my mother-in-law. She's going to love it.
Yeah,
I'll let her know.
Dick Van Dyke plays a pastor trying to get his entire town to quit smoking. Sounds fun. All right. We didn't go that bad. It wasn't that bad. 34 minutes.
No, not so bad. This book we can fly through.
Sure, that's true. So less Star Wars content for everybody. And so
the Darkness second album came out same year as Revenge of the Sith. If we didn't say,
I thought that was 06.
No, it's 05.
All right, well, whatever. Anyway,
yep.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, so when we get back, we'll talk Adventures in Wild Space, The Darkness. So stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here as always with Levi Peretic.
Hello.
And this week, we're continuing our adventures in wild space, and we're delving deep into the darkness. This one's by Tom Huddleston. So they're trading off. It's maybe not quite one and one, but it's.
They seem to be trading off on, because the books, in my opinion, are going story, monster of the week kind of thing. Because the last Tom Huddleston book was the big creature episode.
That was very much what I thought this was.
Sorry, I had to close my window.
Geez, I hope the listeners enjoy that sound, because I'm not cutting it out, baby. Apparently I have contempt for the audience as the editor. I'm just I don't care. I don't care about your ears, is basically what I just said. I apologize.
They care about my list, but I don't care about their ears.
All right, so... Adventures in Wild Space. We left off last time where the Graff children were captured by a bounty hunter named the Shade. This was right after they had made contact with Ezra's parents, Myra and Ephraim Bridger. Ezra from Rebels, of course, so they are on the Shade ship, the Movable Feast, heading presumably into Empire custody, and they're in a prison cell with two other characters, and these characters, one of them's named
there's Stell.
Stell, who is a human. And claims to be a rebel of some sort. Mm-hmm. And then there is, I don't remember what is it?
He's a Losat or a
Lasat, who is the race of characters from Rebels. I'm blanking on the guy's name.
Oh, what is that character's name? I should know that.
It's been years since I watched Rebels. What is the...
wow, this is embarrassing that we don't know this.
But anyway, the kind of Wookiee-like character who talks in a English accent,
a little Australian
accent. I don't know. Yeah. It's done by an American, so it's broadly an accent of some sort.
He is.
Oh, this is embarrassing. I really am blanking completely on his name.
Zeb. It's Zeb. I cannot believe
by the way,
I
love Zeb. I'm a big fan of that character. That Enemy Mine episode with him and Callus is so good. I love that. I love Zeb. But it's that race, the Lasat. And he's there, and Stell, the human, says that he is some sort of galactic criminal murderer.
Yes, the Butcher of Brenthal 4.
But he's kind of knocked out, so he's not really in play at the moment. And then what happens?
Well, then they lose power.
Right.
They're cast into the dark. Well, Crater we have a problem with Crater. So Crater has a restraining bolt on him, so he has to serve the Shade, and he also needs charged. The Shade has not allowed him to charge yet. So when the power goes out, he loses his restraining bolt, and he lets the children out of their prison cell. And the kids who can't trust anybody are like, well, we're going to leave these two dudes there. And then they go into the ship, which is pitch black. They're in the darkness.
And so, and they're like, okay, we got to be careful. And then they see the Shade sitting in her command chair, head back, drooling like a little baby. She was drooling like a baby, I said. So,
like a fucking toddler.
Yeah, she's like, I'm 2 years old and I'm drooling.
But she's passed out, so she's not actually talking.
Yeah, that's true.
And she's got marks in her neck, like a vampire.
But not a vampire. It's mechanical spiders, baby.
Yeah, cyborg spiders, baby, up in this.
Spiders. And so cyborg spiders overrunning the ship, fucking up the circuitry of the ship.
Yeah, they're eating all the power. They like the electricity. That's what they're here for.
I need the speed, a.k.a. electricity, baby. So, and Jesus Christ. And so then they go. But Crater's like, and they're like, oh, this is actually a good opportunity because our captor is out and we can figure out where the course is and we can try to reroute the course. But all of the computers are all fucked up.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, we need help from somebody who might be able to handle this. And it's like, that Stell guy, he's a rebel. We can trust him. Lena especially is like, we can trust Stell. Like, and it's like, I don't know, Lena. And like, Crater's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean we can trust this guy? Like, who knows if he is who he says he is? He could be saying, he could be the butcher. He could be, you know what I mean? And like, and apparently the records have been sufficiently chewed through by the spiders who are like, we love the records. We want those electronic records. That's what the spiders wanted. So so the records are all fucked up. They can't tell like the facts of the case. So they head back. So they head back to the prison cell, and they let Stell go. And then Stell, of course, immediately
he's the butcher.
He immediately betrays them, locks them back in the cell, and he's out, and he's just like I didn't know who you were, but obviously I'm going to take you to the Empire. I work for the Empire. I'm down with the Empire. The Empire fucking rules. Everything's peaceful and everything. And then she's just like, you don't actually care about that. You just like that you have cover for your shady dealings. And he's like, basically, yeah, obviously I'm a bad guy. And so, and then, so then he what does he need Lena for that he takes her with him?
She has an idea of like how to like get power back to the ship. And however, his idea is though he's going to use the power from Crater to make the jump to light speed, and because Crater's power is low, they do it, and Crater ends up like losing all power. So basically, the kids are separated.
Yeah, he takes Lena with him.
Yeah, and this is where Milo thinks he's like with Davin, who turns out to be the good guy.
Davin's the Lasat.
Yep, and they're like, well, how do we get out of here? But this room still has power, and because it has power, there's lights, and the spiders don't like the lights. So Milo's like, I know how we get out of here. We have to shut off the lights, and then the spiders are going to crawl on us, and then they're going to be all over us, but then they're going to find the power, and then the doors are going to open. So they do this. Poor old Davin, he gets all covered with spiders, and he's all scared. Turns out he has an electronic lung that the spiders...
there's they're like pass it over, and they're like, This lung, this is flesh. We don't want this lung. This lung, this electric lung, give us this lung. They want that electric lung. And so, the one thing I want to say before we move on, that I just kind of remembered, I don't know if you've gotten this far in Rebels, but the Lasats, if I recall, Zeb is like the only...
Yeah, Zeb thinks he's the only one.
I don't know when this book was written vis-a-vis that. I feel like that was known from the beginning of the series.
Yeah, I feel like that's how he's
So
even
it's a
introduced.
little weird considering that this character has some relationship with Ezra's parents.
But unless he dies before Rebels.
Oh yeah, and of course that's true. And the Ezra parents actually have no relationship to Kanan or Hera or anything. So
True.
It's not impossible, but it's a little weird because then he also does eventually make it to his home world, and it's outside the galaxy basically. So
it would have been fun if this character, if Davin, he's like, yeah, I'm only one of 2 of my species
it's
left.
fine. I'm not like it's not like I'm not like this is a plot hole. I don't care. It works. The story is fine. So anyway, then what happens exactly here?
Okay, so they Davin comes in and they fight Zeb. Davin gets knocked out. Then still, what does happen with... Okay. Oh, well, they show up where they're supposed to show up, which is Nock 2, which is... There's asteroid mines there run by the Empire. So they show up there, and then Ezra's parents show up to rescue them. So, but they get chased by the Empire and all this sort of other stuff.
Yeah, because it's a trap. They wanted to lure the Bridgers out there, and then... Basically, they're able to overcome Stell pretty easily.
Oh, okay. Milo's got the electro jabber, and then Stell keeps backing up, and then Stell falls into a hole in the floor that the spiders made, and he falls into their spider nest, and he presumably dies in there.
Yeah, and they're like, you know what? We prefer if this was machinery, but we will eat human flesh if we must.
Yeah, we gotta defend our nest. That's what we gotta do. Our nest is in jeopardy. We don't care. We will eat this guy. We are the spiders. We need that energy more on this show.
I agree. So then there's a guy. They eventually are able to escape, and they wind up on the Bridger's ship, and a couple things happen here that are worth noting before we get to the actual ending. There's one spider left, seemingly, that followed them to the ship, and Milo's like, oh shit, no, I don't want this spider here, but then... Who has been absent this whole time? But Mork the monkey lizard. He's here to eat up the spider. And this is a spider, remember, made of metal. And so Mork is just got jaws of fucking steel right here. Mork is just so pumped. Mork is hard as nails right now.
And Milo, he's just like, oh, I thought you were on the movable feast. I thought not the movable feast, the Whisper Bird. I thought I'd never see him again. I'm so happy the Ezras brought him. And then the Ezras are like, whoa. The Bridgers.
Ezra's back home, presumably on Lothal, just in his playpen.
But the Bridgers are like, we didn't even know he was aboard. So, boom, surprise. Mork the monkey lizard.
And then the Bridgers tell Lena and Milo that they have received some information regarding where their parents are. And that's where we leave off. I'm sorry that we sped through this so fast. Look, we are 13 minutes into this, and we talked for a half hour about the Blu-rays I bought and shit. And we've been gone for 2 weeks. I feel like we're really not serving our audience in any real way. Let's rate this book, and then I'll bring something else up.
All right. I thought this was actually a decent entry in this book because it was creepy with the metal spiders. I'd give it a 7.
Yeah, I'd probably go 6.5. I think it's my least favorite of the books so far. But it's still...
See, I thought the other Beastie book was my least favorite. I didn't like that one.
That's fair. Anymore. This one was fine. I think it's actually, like... I think it's a better version of a lot... It's not better than all the Galaxy Fear books, but it's a better version of what that series was trying to do a lot of the time. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to these next two because, like, we're getting into the climax here. And I've grown some slight attachment to these characters. I like these characters.
See, this is what I like about this series is the fact that like we are building to something, whereas like so often that happens in like say that happens in Galaxy of Fear, we were building to something and then everything after 6 books it's over. But like that, and then we have more books after that. But this series is just that 6 books,
Contained,
so.
Contained. So. That's our ratings. Do you want to talk about the Obi-Wan cast quick?
Sure.
Do a little Star Wars.
I'm happy that Owen and Beru are back.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Very exciting.
The new people is very interesting. I was shocked to see Benny Safdie, the co-director of Good Time and Uncut Gems. Also, I knew he's also an actor. He's an actor in Good Time. I was shocked to see him. I can't wait to see him in this. I'm a big fan of theirs, especially Uncut Gems. What a fucking movie. But
I know. They're the most panic-inducing movie that I've seen in recent memory.
Oh, yeah. Like, a friend of ours who's actually been on the show, a friend of the show, Brooke, he and I went to see it in the theater, and Brooke could not handle it. He had to leave shortly before the end of the movie. Like, he was freaking out. That movie is insane. Great movie. So yeah, him. You got Kumail Nanjiani. Who else? There's another like big one that I'm blanking on. Maybe like a fairly notable.
Well, Hayden Christensen.
Well, yes, of course, but we talked about that already. That's a big deal. Like that we already knew, and we knew about Joel. Really, Joel Edgerton was going to show up again,
right?
And I'm glad that we got Beru confirmed, but.
Moses Ingram.
Okay.
Oh wait, I think that's. Okay. Let's see here. Rupert Friend.
Rupert Friend. Wasn't he in Shakespeare in Love back in the day?
Let's find out.
Wrong about that.
Sung Kang.
Oh, Sung Kang. That was the other one. Sung Kang from Fast and Furious. He plays Han in Fast and Furious.
Oh,
I am a huge
okay.
fan of his. I'm very excited to see him in this. I hope he has a big role.
Okay, Rupert Friend was in Pride and Prejudice. He was also in Hitman, Agent 47.
Okay, he's not as old as I thought then. If it was Pride and Prejudice, his like breakthrough, basically.
That was 2005.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but that's the.
Yeah, that's his.
Okay, then I don't know who I'm mixing him up with then.
But Han, isn't Han back in the new Fast and the Furious movie? Don't we get justice for Han?
Justice is coming, as they say. I cannot wait. I'm so excited for that movie. That is like by far my most anticipated movie.
I saw the trailer for that in the theaters the one day, and I've only seen the first 2 Fast and the Furious movies, and that was like, I'll go see that. I don't even care. I'll go see that.
You need to watch at least 5, 6, and 7. Those are the like great ones. Like 5 and 7 especially, but
I have to watch 3 for Han.
Yeah.
So.
Honestly, you should just watch all of them. They're all worth watching. I mean, 8 is probably my least favorite, but this one looks like it's restoring balance.
It's going to be a big year for John Cena because Cena's also got the Suicide Squad.
He's in that too.
And they're already talking about a spin-off of that.
I think they're
like
shooting
James Gunn is
already.
Yeah, like he already wrote.
Like
James Gunn already wrote it.
Yeah, very weird. like movies and TV, everything colliding. I love movies, and I will always be team movies all day, every day. That's all I have to say about that. Fuck TV.
even though there was that part of me that's like, man, I'm never gonna watch this Loki show, but I know Owen Wilson is gonna be in this trailer, so I'm gonna watch this trailer for some Owen Wilson. So that's.
I didn't realize he's in that.
He is. Apparently,
whatever. Who cares?
Apparently, to Tom Hiddleston, he had to, like, Owen Wilson had no knowledge of the Marvel Universe, and, like, Owen Wilson asked him, so what's going on here? So, like, he had to, like, explain the whole thing to him.
It makes me love Owen Wilson even more.
I agree. Owen Wilson.
You know, like, it's frustrating because, like, I don't really want to watch all these Marvel shows. It's annoying when they get people that I like. Like, it's like...
I agree.
The fact that the Moon Knight show is starring Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke, two of my favorite boys.
Two boys who should make a movie together, but not that.
Like,
that should not be it.
I don't watch Moon Knight. Like, I'm gonna. Like, I cannot not watch a TV show with Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac. Like,
I know.
But it's, like, frustrating that it has... Why does it have to be Moon Knight? Anyway, I haven't even watched, like, the Falcon Winter Soldier thing. I don't care.
I haven't either. I don't.
It's all whatever.
The only series I watch on Disney Plus is The Mandalorian
and Ewoks,
so
of course. I'm gonna watch the Ewok movies for May 25th this year, I think.
Yes, I'm very excited because you've never seen the second one,
right.
so
which I'm excited.
Yep.
I know that most people consider that the best of the two.
Well, wait. Just wait. We'll talk about it when you get it.
You disagree.
No. Because I think like the first opening moments of that movie, there's a huge twist. Right. I'll say a major twist in the very beginning of the movie. So
yeah, it's like the one piece of like classic Star Wars stuff, like from the original era that I've like held on to for a long time, and, like and kept from experiencing, so I'm actually pretty excited to watch it.
Those movies for me, I remember watching those movies on Disney Channel. They would air those on Disney Channel a lot, and I saw those before I ever saw the Star Wars movies, and I never made the connection until I actually saw Return of the Jedi. That was like, they're kind of separated enough, so, yeah. But that's what I love about Ewoks in all forms, is because like Ewoks, the cartoon, and that are like the most fantastical properties of kind of like Star Wars lore, and like they have that, like, you know, because Ewoks movie is of course trying to go for like that Willow vibe, you know what I'm saying, you know, like, you know, Dark Crystal, that area of fantasy. I do love that kind of stuff,
so I'm excited to watch them this year, and like it's not a big anniversary for any of the movies, so feels like a good a good off year Star Wars Day celebration, true Orthodox Star Wars Day, as we say.
I'm happy to be celebrating another one together on this show. What I'll say.
I know,
so
three of them. It's crazy. So
it's funny, we could have actually like finished Galaxy of Fear, like, you know, we could have actually not rushed through Galaxy of Fear. We could have done like another 4 and then did another Fear month.
Oh yeah, because we're gonna wind up stretching into October probably. Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, with all the weeks we've missed, but we're gonna try not to miss any major stuff, and if we do, we will. Hopefully, it'll be well in advance. You'll know.
This is something we should talk about later, but I think before the end of the show, we should go back and revisit like what we think are some of our favorite books are, and read them again and see if they hold up.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. Some version of that, anyway. Whether we read them again, I don't know about that part. But
it's like watching a movie again. You get different impressions the second time. So
yeah, sure. Hasn't been long enough for me to want to reread even the best of these books. But anyway, so next week we're continuing with Adventures in Wild Space. We're going to finish that out. And then, but also we're going to talk Cold Turkey next week. So check that movie out. It's available. It's available to rent in various forms, various places. So check them out there. And I'm gonna just get off this phone call, and I'm gonna watch Jeopardy. That's all I'm gonna do.
Oh, I've been watching Jeopardy on Netflix.
Yeah.
Do you know Austin Rogers?
The entire everything that's ever on Netflix I watched.
Okay.
I know Austin Rogers, of course. Yeah.
Does he not look like Zach Owen?
Holy shit, he does.
I'm actually going to make a supercut of all his intros at the beginning, and I'm going to send it to you, because he is so Zach Owen. And then he gets a haircut halfway through his run, and he looks even more like Zach Owen.
I agree. And, I'm watching the All-Star tournament, which was the team tournament they did a couple years ago, and he's one of the captains. Mm-hmm. It's a weird thing, because, team tournament, it's a whole new format. It's clear that everybody's, not sure how to
Where can I watch that at?
That's not streaming anywhere. I had to find it illicitly. I hope one day that Jeopardy launches a website, or I would honestly pay $4 a month.
For the
I would
streaming
pay $4 or
service?
$5 a month to watch. If they had every episode of Jeopardy, I would watch that. There's
that's a streaming service right there. That and Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but even just Jeopardy, that's 8,000 episodes. I could watch 5 a day, and it wouldn't exhaust itself for ages. So, and there's always new episodes too, obviously. I love Jeopardy. I'm obsessed right now. I took the quiz. I took the test.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I think I did okay. I mean, I'm not going to get called back or anything, but I think I got around 35-ish out of 50, which isn't too bad. It's what it is. But
here's the thing, that's that show I'd always love to be on, and even if I lose, I'm gonna just think of that Weird Al song in a whole different light.
And here's the thing about getting on, just the process of getting on is you have to pass so many hurdles that even if you get on and you lose in embarrassing fashion, it's I still got on Jeopardy. That's
right.
That's a huge accomplishment. So it's
huge. Well, one girl the other night said, it was oh yeah, you guys called me to say that I was going to be on Jeopardy. The next day I went into my medical school interview and I told them, and sure enough, I got in medical school. And
it's so impressive. People are so impressed. There are a couple people in my life that I think should go hard for it, that could do relatively well, I think. I'm not saying we have any Ken Jennings or Brad Rudders in our midst or anything, but I think there are some people I'm pretty good at trivia, but I would also crumble under the pressure, and the buzzer I would completely there's no way.
You want to know what I do when I watch Jeopardy? Is I act like I'm holding the buzzer, because I think the buzzer works by once Alex finishes.
No, yeah, that's how it is. I just read a book about Jeopardy.
Okay.
That's actually very good. It's called Answers in the Form of Questions. Worth getting. People should check.
Wow, that sounds great.
It just
actually,
came out in November.
If you want to put that under my Christmas tree this year.
Thank you for the tip. But they and it's a good book, and they talk about how basically if you buzz in before he finishes, it locks you out. Not permanently, it gives you a 5-second thing, but that gives the other contestants a huge advantage, obviously. So it's and there's you're not supposed to buzz in until after he's done. I mean, that's for the viewer too. It's not fun.
Yeah. Well, I sit on the couch and I'll wait for him to finish, and then I'll do this with my thumb. I will jam my thumb as if I'm hitting that buzzer. So that's.
I agree. I mean, it's just it's so good. There's no greater American institution than Jeopardy.
I agree.
It's the best.
I agree
100%. So I love it, and I hope I like that they rotate in different batches on Netflix and stuff, but I really want I hope they're working on some sort of true archive of everything, because
they need to have it.
It would be so good. And it would be great for their contestants too. For preparing.
The Cheers episode.
That's one of the
that.
That's one of the greatest episodes of television of all time.
Okay. Buy your Saint Elsewhere.
Does that mean
theory?
All of real life is in Tommy Westfall's head? Because Jeopardy is in real life? Yeah, I like that.
We exist in the globe.
I want to keep. Listen, we stretched this half out to roughly the same as the first half, even though
we sure did.
Though, like half of it is not about the book. We talked about the book for 15 minutes. We talked a little Star Wars, with the Obi-Wan cast
after.
And
yeah, we sure did. We did a little Ewoks talk. There's nothing else going on right now.
So it's fine. And listen, we don't need to talk about every piece of Star Wars news. There's plenty of places you can find that. You want to hear our takes on movies from the 70s. You want to hear our takes on albums that are 20 years old. You want to hear our takes.
Albums expired by the 70s.
Yeah. You want to hear our takes on Jeopardy, the greatest American institution. All right. And that's what you come to the library for. And you're going to come back to the library next week when we reopen, but let's wrap this up.
Yeah, until the books are due back.
The library is closed.
Ooh, close that door. Lock it up.
Padawan Library is hosted and produced by Tim May and Levi Peretic. It is edited by Tim May. Our theme song is by The Astral Project. Our artwork is by Freddie Funbuns. Padawan Library is copyright 2021. Tim May and Levi Peretic. All rights reserved.